Hey everybody, thanks for joining me on this Thursday of our Easter week. And I want to use a phrase that maybe you've heard before. Location, location, location. Sure, usually it's dealing with real estate and for good reason, but the location of Bible stories become a teaching in and of themselves. We've been looking this Monday, Tuesday, and then yesterday of Jesus's famous last messages that he wanted his disciples to get. He wanted them to truly understand before he went to Jerusalem and he took the cross. And in the middle of those teachings about our need to be great, our need to put ourselves first, our need to be served, and Jesus's upside down kingdom and saying, no, put yourself last. Make sure you serve others. This is what Christianity is like. Different than the other world. Different than the secular world. We have this story. And this story, Jesus teaches by what he does, not by what he says. And you'll know that when you realize location, location, location. It's the last story in Mark chapter 10. We pick it up on verse 46. There's quite a few verses. Let me just read it and then we'll put it together. Then they came to Jericho, and as Jesus and his disciples, together with a large crowd, were leaving the city, a blind man, Bartimaeus, that is, son of Timaeus, was sitting by the roadside begging. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout, "Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me!" Well, many rebuked him, and they told him to be quiet. So he shouted all the more, "Son of David, have mercy on me!" And Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." So they called to the blind man, "Cheer up! On your feet, he's calling you." And throwing his cloak aside, he jumped to his feet and he came to Jesus. "What do you want me to do for you?" Jesus asked him. And the blind man said, "Rabbi, I want to see." "Go," said Jesus, "your faith has healed you." Immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus along the road. End of chapter 10. First words of chapter 11. As they approached Jerusalem. Location, location, location. On their way into Jericho, 10 to 15 miles from Jerusalem, on their way in through Jericho, the last city Jesus will ever walk in and out of under his own strength, the last city on the map before the cross. We've been watching Jesus teaching his disciples for the last couple chapters. You've got to get this in your heart. I'm not dying on the cross to make your life better. I'm teaching you how to serve. I'm teaching you how to sacrifice. I'm teaching you the very core of discipleship, to put yourself last, to consider others greater, to try to outserve everyone around you. And in the midst of him teaching those things, he comes to the very last city. Catch that. With the weight of the world literally on his shoulders, knowing he's going to die. 3 times he's told the disciples what type of death he's going to have in Jerusalem. If there was ever a time in human history where someone said, "I just need a time out," if there was ever a time in human history where someone said, "Look, I can't make this about others right now. Man, my heart is heavy. I'm stressed right now. I'm feeling the burden of what I'm about to go through." If there was ever a time in human history where Jesus said, not the crowds, not the needs, not somebody else's problem, not today, it was Jericho. And yet he puts everything he's been teaching his disciples into action. 15 miles from the cross, he stops for the least of those in society. On the last journey, the last city before death, Jesus says, "Let me show you what this looks like. I will stop for someone who can do nothing for me, who has nothing to offer me, but they simply have a need." And he stops for a blind beggar at the city gate. Now, I love the way Luke, I believe it's 18 and 19, carries this story even more because, of course, Luke's a doctor and he's going to write more. He's more into the history of it. This is also the city. As they're walking through, Jesus stops and he sees a guy, a tax collector, a short guy who had climbed a tree just to see who he was named. Yeah, Zacchaeus. In the last city before the cross, Jesus stops for those in the least of society and those on the highest rung of society who both have severe issues and needs. And he stops and he meets needs. You see, Jesus takes this last moment before he runs into a crowded city in Passion Week, before he runs into Jerusalem where there's going to be fanfare and crowds. And Jesus takes this last city to say, "Let me show you what it looks like to be Christ-like." You take time for those around you. You take time and you meet the needs of those that you're going to pass by. I know you're busy. I know you have an agenda. I know there's a lot on your plate. I know you got your own problems. I know you got your own issues. So did he on that day. And he says, this is what being Christ-like is all about. You're going to outserve others. How far are we supposed to take it? We'll wait till tomorrow. Location, location, location of tomorrow's story is going to blow you away. I'll see you on Good Friday.